welcome to Food for Thought podcast, giving you the tools and resources you need to live according to your values of compassion and wellness, joyfully, healthfully, deliciously, and sustainably. Today's episode is Zero Waste Travel, Packing, and Hacking. My name is Patrick-Goudreau. You can find me at joyfulvegan.com. You can find me on social media. You can find my books wherever books are sold. You can join me in my online cooking classes. We've got some on the schedule coming up. And you can join me in my vegan trips around the world. This podcast is 100% listener supported. So if it's something you enjoy, something you value, something you listen to again and again, something you share, please join other supporters by going to patreon.com/Colleen Patrick-Goudreau to become a supporter at your chosen level. And don't forget to share the love by leaving ratings and reviews of this podcast and sharing it with your network. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I've been working on a new website and store for 6 months now. It's been a very rocky ride. And I really want to encourage you to go over to joyfulvegan.com. The website is not done yet, but the store is pretty much done, although we're still adding things like gift cards. It's been a rocky ride. But if you go to joyfulvegan.com, you can at least link over to the new store where you can buy my books that are remaining in print. You can buy signed copies from me. You can join all of the cooking classes, any of the cooking classes. You can purchase any of the on-demand classes. Those are the recipes and videos. Once the live classes are finished, they get converted into on-demand classes. We have a huge library of on-demand classes and all different ingredients and recipes and topics and themes. And you can also join my 30-day vegan challenge. Lots more coming if we ever get this website finished and we ever get this store finished, but go check it out. I'm really proud of what we have there now. You may have heard that 3 of my books have gone out of print. The life of these books has ended. So the Vegan Table, Color Me Vegan, and Vegan's Daily Companion are no longer available. Period. You could probably find them used here and there. They're officially out of print. But of course, the 30-day vegan challenge, I shouldn't say of course, the 30-day vegan challenge, the Joy of Vegan Baking, and the Joyful Vegan, those are all in print, and you can find those over at my new store. And people ask me all the time, I'll tell you an honest answer. People ask me all the time, what is the best way to support authors when you're buying a book from them? And the answer is, look, we write books because we are compelled to and because we want to get our thoughts out into the world. The most important thing is that that book is in your hand, and more importantly, that you read the book. But if you're asking me about, kind of monetary support and the best way to support an author, it really is from the author directly. So the difference between you buying a book, even from a bookstore or Amazon or any place, and you buying it from me directly is about a 50% difference. And that's a huge amount. So if you really do want to support authors, go and buy books from them directly when possible. And now that that is set up on my website, you can buy my books from me, the remaining books from me directly from me. And that is a huge help. So thank you for that. It's been an interesting time. I had mentioned the zero waste book that I'm working on, and many of you reached out to me for recipe testing. It doesn't look like that's going to happen right now. I've gotten rejection after rejection after rejection from publishers. So clearly not the right time, or we haven't found the right publisher. And so that's not happening right now. So I'm just really focusing on my podcast, focusing on creating really high value content that you can absorb and chew on and share with others, working on my classes, my cooking classes, which I really, really enjoy teaching. And of course, we've got my trips, and those take up a lot of wonderful time going on trips and bringing joy to all of you who join us. So that's what's happening. And just go check out joyfulvegan.com and hopefully you'll join me in a class or anything else that's available, or on a trip. And you did take a culinary tour with me recently, if you listened to the 4-episode series on different cuisines in the different regions of Italy. So that was super fun. I really enjoyed producing those episodes. So I hope you enjoyed them. There's been a little bit of a gap between finishing those and today because I was in Italy. So I just returned from a 3-week adventure in this beautiful country that I love so much. And some of you actually joined me on these trips in real life, for real. First in Tuscany, and then in northern Italy. And the trips were nothing short of fabulous, thanks in part to our wonderful travelers, and thanks in no small part, in fact, to a very large part, to my business partners and my dear friends, World Vegan Travel. But more on that in a bit. About today's episode, I'm using the word travel hacking in the broadest possible sense because typically the idea of travel hacking refers very specifically to the number of levers you can pull to basically get credit card points and redeem them for travel. And there's so much to say, and there's people who are experts at this, and I'm certainly not. But there's so much to say about that. That's not what this episode is about. But World Vegan Travel, Bridie and Seb. Bridie has a podcast called World Vegan Travel, so definitely check that out and listen to all of the wonderful episodes there. And on the Tuscany trip, we had a light bulb. I forgot who it was. One of our travelers suggested having David on Bridie's episode to talk about travel hacking. David learned all about travel hacking in the sense of credit card redemption, points redemption for traveling in style for virtually no money from Seb. But Seb, I think he's not going to go on the podcast. Seb likes to do, he's not going to go on the podcast. But also, David has a lot more to share because Seb's in Canada and there's a lot more limitations on this travel hacking with credit cards and banks in Canada than in the United States. So David learned from Seb everything there is to know, and he knows so much. And so quite literally, we travel on these trips. We travel in business class. We go to the lounges. We have just a really enjoyable travel experience, and we spend virtually no money doing it. So we would never pay for business class. We just wouldn't. That's just not where we would want to spend our money, but we travel in business class because of all of the credit card travel hacking, which you can learn. So stay tuned. I will let you know when that happens. And I think it's going to be really exciting. What I'm here to talk about today is another very important travel hack, and that's packing. And packing so that you can travel and never check bags while still applying, in my case, the principles that I believe in, the zero waste principles and products and bringing those products. And of course, vegan. I mean, that's kind of a given, but that's not really what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about just, traveling without checking bags, taking only carry-on luggage with you, and doing this in a zero waste way. We were just in Italy for 3 weeks, as I mentioned, and we each brought only a carry-on suitcase and one personal bag that fits under the seat, right? We never check bags. I'm just giving you this example of this Italy trip because it's fresh in my mind, but we never check bags wherever we go. We will be going to Africa for a month coming up. I hope you can join us. Rwanda has some spots left, and it's kind of an amazing trip, and it's probably going to be not happening for a long time. So really, really encourage you to check out the Rwanda trip. And then we have one single spot in Botswana. I believe one single spot. So if you want to join us for Botswana, that just opened up. But the point is, we're going to be gone for a month and we won't check bags then either. And I'm going to talk all about how we're able to do that. Never, ever, ever, ever check bags. Whether we are gone for 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, whether it's a domestic trip, whether it's a trip to Europe, whether it's a trip to Africa, we never check bags. We 100% take carry-on luggage, cento per cento, always. And that means we take our toiletries on the plane with us, adhering to the US guidelines of not bringing containers of liquids larger than 3.4 ounces, as well as a ton of other items. So I'm going to talk all about how we do this and hopefully inspire you. Whenever I tell people we don't check bags, I get looks and gasps of incredulity and then pleas for help from people who want to do the same. But then I often hear people say, oh my God, how do you do that? I want to do that. And then immediately they say, no, I would never be able to do that. And some say, I want to know how to do that. But I'm here to tell you, you can do it. Folks on our Italy trips asked if I would do a video. I would rather do a podcast here for all of the details, and then I'm actually going to do a video on some specifics for my Patreon supporters. So stay tuned for that. But today we're going to talk about all of the things we implement so that we don't have to check bags. Now, this is not a random episode unrelated to my work. It's about how to pack and travel and create as little waste as possible, using as little plastic as possible, using as little packaging as possible, and adhering to zero waste principles as much as possible. And I'll talk about what some of those are, because it's not just about not buying plastic bottles. It's a lot deeper than that if you've listened to any of my episodes on zero waste. For me, it's also a quality of life issue. And we've talked about quality of life for the last several decades, about how to live compassionately and healthfully and how to live a meaningful life. And so that's part of what this is. It's so much less stressful. It's so much less time consuming to travel with just a carry-on bag. And we're going to talk about why. Let me give you some pros as to why, the pros and the cons. I'll give you some cons, and then I'm going to counter the cons with pros, because they're mostly pros. But I will at least concede that there are some cons, but then I'm going to tell you why they're not cons. Okay. So let me tell you some pros. First of all, the pros, all of the advantages of traveling with just a carry-on bag and not checking your luggage. Number one, you save money. Many airlines charge for checked bags nowadays. So that's number one. Number two, which is such a big one, you just won't lose your luggage unless you leave your bag, which I've done. If you've listened to my episode on our Northern Italy trip, our Northern Ireland escapade, I think I shared that whole story with you. So, okay, you might leave your bag somewhere, but the chances are pretty small. So when we came home from Italy, or when we were watching all of our travelers go home, our Tuscany travelers first, and then our Northern Italy travelers, a number of our travelers had their luggage lost by the airlines. Now, I know this isn't something that happens all the time, but it happens. And when it does, it is a huge hassle, and it's a huge expense. It's so stressful, because then you have to figure out, did I get the insurance, which you should get, by the way, if you're traveling, so that you make sure that you get all of those things reimbursed. But there were people who had to buy clothes and borrow clothes from people because the luggage didn't make it to the destination. That's costly. So it's a thing. Lost luggage is a thing, and it happens all the time, and it creates stress and lost time and money. So that's another pro, is that you don't lose your luggage. The airlines will not lose your luggage because they're with you. It's with you all the time, right? So that's kind of related to number three, that I have it safely with me all the time. I don't want to just give over my valuable clothes and shoes and things to the airlines. I want to keep everything with me safely and securely. So you save money, you're saving time, you're saving stress, you're preventing the potential that your luggage would get lost. And you do save a lot of time in the sense that you're not standing around waiting for your luggage. That's just not how David and I like to travel. We like to, just get off the plane and start our journey, or on the way home, we just want to get off the plane and get home. I don't want to stand there waiting for my luggage, and with the potential that it's actually not going to be there, right? So that's just, for us, that's just not how we want to spend our time. It's also less stressful because if you have a connecting flight with a short window to board the next plane, you can just obviously take everything with you and just get right to the next security checkpoint. That happens a lot, especially for international travel. You never know if you're going to have to go back through security again. And it's so stressful to have to go through security again. And if you have to wait for your luggage, which is the case, again, in a lot of European travel, lots of times, if you have connecting flights, you have to go get that luggage that was checked and wait for that luggage and then go board your connecting flight. So it's just stressful. And I just try to mitigate stress in my life. I do create stress for myself in many other ways. Lessons and gifts. I'm a practicing human like everybody else, but where I can avoid creating stress, and maybe it doesn't stress you out, it stresses me out. It stresses me out when I have to get a connecting flight and it's a short window and I have to go get checked bags. And we've had to do that because we've been forced to check bags in some cases, but it's just stressful and I want to avoid that. So you check your bag, you don't check your bags, you just have your carry-on. You just go right from one gate to the next. And I love that. So cons. Number one, once you get to the airport, if you don't check your bags, you're still, carrying your luggage around with you, right? Hopefully you have wheels on your luggage, on your carry-on. You probably have a personal item as well, like a backpack or a tote. So you are lugging things around the airport a bit. But honestly, well, I'll counter that by saying, we just go right to the lounge when we travel. We just go right to the lounge, or we go right to the gate. And so it's not a big deal. And because it's not a massive bag, it's just a carry-on bag. It's not like it's super heavy, and it's not super laborious to lug it around because it's just a carry-on. So that's number one. I guess you could say, like, yeah, I want to be free. I don't want to have to worry about rolling my bag around the airport with me. Fine, sure. That could be a con. And if that's more important to you, then that's more important to you. For me, I'd rather keep my luggage with me and, just kind of roll around my bag wherever I need to. And of course, when I'm with a partner like David, and if you're with a partner, it's easier. If you have to go to the bathroom, obviously you're bringing everything in with you. If you're with a partner, they could stay and watch your luggage for you. So again, if that's your con and it's enough to say, nope, I still want to check bags, that's fine. That's fine. But it's not a con for me. Number two, if you haven't planned well, and we're going to talk about what it means to plan well in terms of the size of your suitcase, your carry-on, there's a chance your carry-on won't fit in the compartment above your seat, and you will have to check your bag after all. So that's about planning well, and I'm going to talk about that. So that con can be avoided. Same thing if you're late on the plane, if you're one of the last people on the plane because of extenuating circumstances and all the compartments are full, you will have to check your carry-on after all. So, okay, you've gone through everything to avoid checking your bags and you still have to do that. Okay, just don't be late, right? Or fine, maybe on one leg you had to check your bag, but then when you're coming back home again or what have you, you don't have to check your bags because you get there early enough. So that's not really a con for me. I think some people would say a con is that you're limited in terms of how much you can bring with you on your trip. That's not a con because that's what this entire episode is about. So I'm going to tell you about how you can mitigate that and bring everything you want with you. Everything you want with you and still just have a carry-on. And then the other con I think people would say is that you have less room for souvenirs or gifts when you're traveling, so that when you come back home, you can't do that. So you want to bring luggage. And we had some people in Tuscany who bought another suitcase because they wanted to bring things back home with them. And again, that's fine. It's just not what I want to solve for. But we're going to talk about how to still pack gifts. We're going to talk about how to still buy things in the places you travel to and still be able to pack them on your carry-on to get back home. Okay? So I'm here to convince you that not checking bags is a better choice if it can be avoided. And so hopefully I'll be able to do that. And so that's why I'm countering those cons, because I don't really think they're reason enough to check bags. One thing I didn't mention, the other con about lugging your luggage around the airport, is that, sure, and that's only one place that you have relieved yourself of your luggage if you do check that luggage. You're getting that luggage once you land, right? And so you're carting that really large bag around to the taxi, to the hotel, from your house to the taxi, whatever. It's just, you're lugging around a much bigger bag if in places other than just the airport, if you do bring a large suitcase that you're going to check. So I would argue that even though, yeah, sure, when you're walking around the airport, you're bringing around your carry-on, it's still smaller. I think I maybe said that already, but you get the idea. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about, and I'm super excited. It makes travel less stressful. It makes it less time consuming, so much more enjoyable, and less expensive as well. And so I hope to persuade you by the end of this episode. I'm really curious to know. I'll be very curious to know at the end if I have persuaded you. And, obviously it's just something you can try. And even if you plan to do this and try it for one trip, even on the leg back home, you can still check your bag if it doesn't work for you. So let's talk first about what it means to have a carry-on. Let's talk about the definition of carry-on. Now, most airlines allow for a carry-on bag, carry-on luggage that fits in the overhead bin, right? Plus a personal item like a backpack or a large tote, right? As long as it fits under the seat. So we were gone for 3 weeks in Italy, in 2 different parts of Italy, which also means that we were in slightly different climates. It's colder in the north, though there was a heat wave when we were there, throughout Europe, but in Italy especially. I think in France was pretty bad as well. And frankly, in California, I remember seeing the temperature upwards of 100 in Oakland, which is insane and never happens. So there was a heat wave, but I had to account for the fact that we were going to be in two different climates, right? And that happens a lot when we travel for longer periods of time. They were also very different trips. There's lots of hiking on the northern Italy trip, so I had to bring hiking clothes, and I also had to bring a rain jacket because it was going to potentially rain. And I had to bring bulkier hiking shoes than I wore. And I never wore my hiking shoes in Tuscany. I think once I put them on for the animal sanctuary, but otherwise, I'll tell you what I brought. So we were gone for 3 weeks, and here's what I brought with me. So this is for anyone who says I could never do that because I have to bring a lot of things. Okay, we were gone for 3 weeks in two different parts of Italy. I brought 6 dresses, 3 pairs of jeans, 4 pairs of pants, in addition to the jeans, 4 pairs of shoes. It was a pair of Vans, a pair of flip-flops, a pair of Rothy's, and a pair of hiking shoes, 1 pair of slippers, 8 shirts, 2 cardigan sweaters, a rain jacket that I just mentioned, a sweatshirt, all of my undergarments, so probably about 8 or 9 pairs of underwear, probably more than I needed, a few bras, a couple camisoles, 5 pairs of socks, if not more, it may have been 6 pairs of socks, 1 robe. I always bring my robe with me. I'm a robe wearer. 2 pairs of pajama bottoms plus a pajama top, 2 brushes, a regular brush and a round brush, all of my toiletries, shampoo, conditioner, face lotion, face wash, hand sanitizer, body spray, a curling iron. I brought enough pairs of contact lenses for 3 weeks because I wear daily lenses. I'll talk about that in a moment. Eyeglasses in a case, sunglasses in a case, 1 slip, 1 belt, a couple of necklaces and a couple pairs of earrings, 2 purses, my laptop, my power cord, my Kindle, a journal. Actually brought like a much bigger journal than I needed to, my tea thermos, 2 containers of tea. You know, I always pack my tea, a tea strainer, and a water bottle. And we came home with gifts for friends. So we actually had more on the way home with us than we did on the way there. And all of this was in my carry-on, my personal bag. So I'm not listing what David and I brought together. I'm listing what I brought just with my carry-on. And I didn't ask David to take any of this. Maybe once I asked him to pack something for me. And he also brought things like an umbrella. And he brought, kind of the similar things that I brought. And I still overpacked. There were still things I didn't wear. So I had worn a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt on the plane when I was leaving Oakland, when I got on the plane at San Francisco airport. So I was wearing jeans. I was wearing a sweater. So I actually think I skipped the sweater that I'm talking about. So I was wearing a sweater and a sweatshirt and my hiking shoes and my jeans. Why I packed 2 more pairs of jeans in addition to what I was wearing, I have no idea. So this is where I improve every time I travel as well. But there were shirts I didn't wear, and I'm a slippers gal. At home, I wear slippers, and like if I'm in a house, I wear slippers. I don't like just being barefoot, and I don't wear shoes in the house. So I wear slippers. Now, I pack my slippers every time I travel, but this time I never wore them. So this was another lesson, and this is why I have documents for the different trips I do, so I can look back and say, oh, when I traveled to Italy, it's not an Airbnb. Like if I travel somewhere and it's an Airbnb and I'm walking around the house and I'm cooking and I'm right, then it makes sense for me to have slippers. But on our Italy trips, I'm never sitting around, and walking around in the villa, in the room, in the hotel room. I'm barefoot and then I get dressed and then I go out the door. So anyway, the point is I didn't need the slippers, so I'm not going to bring them on the next trip. And David said the same thing. But there were things I didn't wear and there were things I didn't need to pack. So I've already taken notes so I can do better next year, especially for the Italy trip, since I know we're going back. We're going back. Did I mention our 2023 trips are live now and they're filling up? And I will also be doing the same thing for Rwanda and Botswana and consider how am I going to be living in the space that we're in for the time we're gone, so that I can, plan accordingly. So here are my tips. 10 of them about how to travel without checking bags and still bringing everything you want, still having everything you need. Number 1, know what the airline allows, right? And I think across the board, every airline at this point, this might change, allows you to bring a carry-on for the compartment above and a personal bag for under your seat. Now, we do travel in business business class, and we have a lot more room, to be honest, but we still act as if we're traveling in coach. We don't presume that it's going to be different in business. It always is. We always have a lot more room, and we always have a lot more flexibility. That's just the way it is. And you'll learn this too when you learn travel hacking. But we just presume it's going to be the same. Because, if we are checking through security and they decide to weigh our bag or see if our bag fits in one of those little models they use to see if your bag is going to fit in the overhead compartment, we just presume we're traveling in economy and take exactly what we're required to take. So know exactly what the airline allows and invest in a quality carry-on and maximize that space of your personal item. So that personal item could be a backpack, it could be a duffel, it could be a large travel purse or a tote bag. So it has to fit under the seat, right? So just know exactly what would fit under the seat. And there's so many stores and resources and websites and blogs these days that you can kind of get a sense of the size of the thing you're buying or borrowing before you start packing. So as long as it fits under the seat, you'll be fine, but you just want to account for that. Now, I use that bag, and you probably do this already. I never touch my luggage when I'm on the plane. The only thing I take out of my luggage just before I sit down is my laptop, because the suitcase I have, the carry-on suitcase I use, has a zipper pouch in the front, and my laptop and the power cord go in that front zipper. Love it. So I grab my laptop, that goes with me that stays with me at my seat. But everything in my personal bag, that's what I put a pair of pajama bottoms, because when you could just change and be comfortable if it's a long flight. That's where I put my tea, my water bottle, my glasses, my iPad, my earbuds or headphones, whatever, right? A book, whatever that you want with you at the seat. That all goes into that travel bag. Now, David has a really nice travel backpack, a really nice one, and I could get the name of it if you're interested. And one of the things that's nice about his travel backpack is that it slips right into the carry-on handle. So it's really nice so that when we are lugging it around the airport, it's all together, it all fits together, and it doesn't slip off. Now, I've considered that, but I just like the bag I have as my personal bag. It's a bag I bought at a travel store, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. And I love it because it's really cute. It's a black and white striped bag, and it's something I could use as a purse also wherever I go. It's a little large for me to carry around as a purse, but it's basically a bag I can take with me once I, unpack and empty it out. I can use it as a tote, and it's cute. It's fashionable. Not that I'm like any kind of fashion icon, but it's cute and I like it, and I can use it as a purse too. It doesn't slip over the carry-on handle, but I'm willing to just keep using it because I really, really like it. And so what I also pack in addition to that bag is a purse. So I had a little tiny purse with me that's just large enough to fit my iPhone. And that's what I brought with me like when I went on hikes, like because David had the backpack and so he was carrying heavier things. But I had that just for like walking around cities and when I hiked. And then I have another purse, also a fabric purse, or I'll bring my Arceo backpack. So that's what I bring in terms of bags, but that's what to know. Just know what you can bring on the plane and make sure your bags fit the criteria imposed by the airline. Number 2 is what type of carry-on suitcase you buy or borrow or get or have, whatever. So take a look at the size requirements. As I said, they're going to differ from airline to airline, but you can find the average size. And I think you'll find that the carry-on requirements are bigger than you might think. They're not tiny. These are not tiny bags. We have like the maximum size carry-on bags, because David does the same thing, that we can. And so just know that, but maybe find kind of a middle ground because, one airline might be a little different and you might have to check your bag after all. So just kind of do a little bit of research. But the most important thing I want to say in number 2 is go with a soft bag. Don't go with a hard shell. Make sure your bag is a soft shell. A hard shell has no flexibility at all. I know it's maybe more protective, but it's just too rigid. You can't squeeze it into the compartment. You can't, a lot of like mine and David's, like a lot of the soft shell suitcases, whether it's a large luggage or a carry-on, has a zipper that you can expand the size of the bag or contract it. So that's what we use. You have that flexibility with a soft shell. You don't have that with a hard shell. The bag I've been using for about 15 years is a soft bag. It's made by eBags, and it's soft, it's expandable, and it has a pouch for the laptop that I mentioned. It also has a lifetime guarantee. So this is a zero waste principle right there. When you're purchasing things, look for a lifetime guarantee because then you don't have to just keep, when a company decides to include a lifetime guarantee or warranty on their product, it means they're saying they know that quality is so high that they're not going to have to actually utilize it because their quality is high. If you're buying cheaper things, it might be cheaper in the short run, but in the long run, you're going to have to replace that more often. And so zero waste principle is about value. It's about valuing what you have and having things of value so that they will last a long time. So my handle did break on this e-bag a few years ago, and they replaced it. They replaced it for me. So look for a good bag, soft shell, lifetime warranty. Look at eBags. I actually love this bag, and there's so many different kinds. Now, a few years ago, I bought another bag that I thought I was going to be using for my carry-on, and I made the mistake of getting a hard shell. So I'm telling you this from experience. The reason it's an away bag. Away bags are really lovely. It's a pretty pink color. Like, I really liked it. And I like the inside. I like how deep it is, but I never use it when I travel because of what I said. And I also like that had 4 spinner wheels. The e-bag I have now, and I don't want to replace it because I really like this bag, but I really wish it had 4 spinner wheels, so that you don't have to pull it with your arm, and that's not great for your shoulders. But that's why I got the away bag. And you know what? I'm going to be giving it away because, little play on words there, because I don't like the hard shell. And just an aside here, a tip from the hip, and I'm going to be giving you some tips from the hip. I think I learned that expression from Bridie. I'm going to give you a number of tips from the hip throughout this list, is in the spirit also of zero waste principles. I keep talking about buying a bag or buying this. We've talked about free cycle and buy nothing groups before, but I want to reiterate it here. Buy nothing groups are all around the world. They're managed by moderators on Facebook. So they're a Facebook-based project, if you will, but they're based on neighborhoods and local communities. So you go to Facebook or you just type in Google, buy nothing group near me and whatever. So you go to your Facebook, it'll link you to a buy nothing group. You put in your zip code and you find one near you. And then you basically give that address to the moderator and they say, yes, you're actually in our neighborhood, so you can join, whatever. So that's how it works. And it's such a wonderful resource because, of course, I'm not going to throw away my away bag. I could sell it, I guess, but I'd rather just gift it to someone who will really value it and want it. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with the away bag. But same thing for you. If you're looking for a carry-on and you don't want to purchase something new, go to Buy Nothing if you have it near you. And it's a wonderful resource for this. I've given away so many things to grateful recipients. That's the point, is that it's an exchange. It's not a barter. It's not a trade. It's actually just in the spirit of gifting things that someone else will value. And it's so lovely. And I've received so many things I value. When I got home from Italy just a few days ago, my hairdryer broke. It just conked out on me. I feel like I go through blow dryers again, I don't feel like, finding the right one that has a good warranty. I haven't found that yet for blow dryer. So that's on my list, but it conked out on me and I didn't want to go buy another blow dryer. So I went over to my Buy Nothing group on Facebook and I asked anybody if they had a spare blow dryer that they weren't using. And within 5 minutes, I had several responses. I could have waited for more, but I responded to one right away. She sent me a picture of the one she had. And that afternoon, I drove 10 minutes from my house and I picked up a perfectly good blow dryer, which is actually nicer than the one I had. and there you go. So it's just one example of many. I've also borrowed travel related items through Buy Nothing. So don't feel like you have to go out and buy anything that I'm recommending. You can borrow from friends, from neighbors, from a buy nothing group, or you can buy a used one. So that's my tip from the hip related to that. What number are we on? So that was number 2. Ooh, I think I have 9 because I think I miscalculated here. So number 3, that was number 2. So number 1 is know what the airlines require, know what the size requirements are. Number 2 is get a soft bag. Your carry-on should be soft, not rigid and hard. Number 3, if you are gone longer than a week, like I was, do not pack for the entire time you're gone. So I was gone for 3 weeks. I did not pack for 3 weeks. Pack with a plan for laundry. Okay. Now, just saying, one of the things included on our all-inclusive Joyful Vegan trips is a laundry day. And for an 8, 9, or 10-day trip, which is the length of most of our trips, you do not need to do laundry more than once during that time, right? You just don't. So what you can see here is that if you're going to be gone for 10 days, really all you need to pack for is 5 days. So that means you're wearing some of the things that you bring more than once, but who cares? They're clean and people are not paying attention to that like you think they are. Everyone's paying attention to themselves. No one's looking and saying, oh my gosh, she wore that shirt 3 days ago and she's wearing it again. No one is thinking that. And if they are, who cares? So even in terms of undergarments, right? Just bring 5 pairs because you can wash them during your trip. So just another perk of a Joyful Vegan trip, we always plan for a laundry day. And actually in Rwanda, I think we have more than one because, we're like trekking through the forests, finding chimpanzees and gorillas. So we get a little dirty. And so I think we have 2 laundry days on that trip. But we always plan for a laundry day. It was actually really cute. On a trip in the past, it was, I think, one of our Alsace, France trips. A couple of our travelers had misread the laundry day inclusion on the description of our trips. They thought it meant that we kind of like allow for a laundry day, like I don't know, go to a laundromat or something. So they brought travel size laundry detergent with them, which is adorable. So no, you don't do laundry when you come on a Joyful Vegan trip. We work with our hotels and the villas, etc., to have your laundry done for you and delivered back to your room, folded and all beautiful. Now you might be thinking, well, that's unique to Joyful Vegan trips. I'm not traveling on a Joyful Vegan trip. Hopefully someday you will. But this is an option for you. Even if you don't travel on a Joyful Vegan trip, most hotels have laundry service for a fee. And that fee may very well be equal to or less than what it costs you to check a bag. So just saying there in terms of costs. The other option, of course, is if you don't get laundry done by the hotel, you can always wash some things in the bathroom sink or the shower or the bathtub and then hang them to dry on the heated towel rack, and you don't need to worry about running out of clothes. Now, that's just hotels. If you travel and you stay in VRBOs or Airbnbs, or you rent a house or an apartment, most of them have washers and dryers, or a washer and a dryer. So plan ahead for that. Check to see if laundry is an option when choosing your accommodations. And Bob's your uncle. Okay. So number 4 is, no, that was number 3. Number 3 is plan for laundry. Just look ahead, ask the hotel you're staying at, and maybe if you're deciding between 2 hotels, maybe that's the thing that tips you from one to the other. So speaking of tips, another tip from the hip is I mentioned packing only for 5 days if you're traveling for 10, and that you'll wear some things more than once, and who cares? But one way to get around that also is to pack a couple extra accessories. So pack more accessories than outfits. You could bring scarves, you can bring a sweater, you can bring a large necklace. Things that are going to be that you can wear the same shirt for, but changing the scarf, you're actually changing that outfit. And those are tiny things. Like a scarf does not take up that much space. So that's something to consider. Like I said, no one's really noticing, but there's a tip from the hip. So number 4, wear your largest and your chunkiest pieces on the plane. So if you're, bringing hiking shoes like I had to do, they're really clunky, chunky. I wear them on the plane rather than pack them in my bag. Now, it's easier to pack light in the warmer months, or if you're going to some place that's warm. But I also pack light when we go to cold places, when we go to France and Switzerland in the wintertime. And I still adhere to all the principles I'm sharing with you. We still don't check bags. So if you need to take a coat and boots, thick sweaters, scarves, plan accordingly. You don't need more than one coat. You probably don't need more than one pair of boots. And so you're only going to bring maybe one pair of shoes versus 4 pairs of shoes, because the 4 pairs of shoes I brought, aside from the hiking shoes, they were pretty small, right? Flip-flops and Vans and my little Rothies. So they're small. Okay, you just maybe bring 1 pair of boots if you're going to somewhere that's cold. But the bulky items, the point is they take up a lot of space in your suitcase, in your carry-on. So just wear them and kind of bulk up when you're going to the airport. And you can put your coat on you as a blanket. Another little thing, if there's a blanket there for you that's wrapped in plastic, you could spare that plastic being opened up and your coat can be your blanket on the plane. So the point is, bring the bulky stuff with you on the plane. Number 5, toiletries. We all have priorities. For me, it's bringing my hair products and my hair tools with me wherever I travel. I don't have that many tools, but I do bring a curling iron with me wherever I go. If I travel domestically, I bring my regular curling iron with me. And if I travel to Europe, I actually we bring adapters. So that's something David's in charge of when we travel. He brings all of the adapters for wherever we're traveling. But I found that bringing an adapter and then plugging in my US curling iron would actually blow out the curling iron. It just didn't work. And so it would often blow out my curling iron. And I didn't want to keep doing that because that's pretty wasteful. So what I did was, and I think Bridie helped me do this when they were living abroad, I bought a European plug curling iron. And so that's what I bring with me when I travel out of the country, out of the US. And it has changed everything. So I always have my curling iron with me and I know it's not going to blow out because it's actually the wattage in the outlet of whatever country I'm in. So that's a priority for me. I'm willing to carry my curling iron with me. Now, I don't bring a hairdryer with me because most places have a hairdryer. I mean, I can't think of a time recently when I didn't have a hairdryer. Sometimes I get annoyed at the hairdryers in Europe because sometimes they're the kinds of hairdryers, and I find this mostly in Europe, not in the US. The hairdryers are the kind that you have to hold the button down for it to emit the air. Oh my God, I hate it. It's like so ergonomically unergonomic and it drives me nuts. So I prefer the hairdryers. We just turn the switch on and you can use those. On our Italy trips, there was only one place that had the hairdryer with the button you have to hold down. But the point is, I'm not going to bring my own hairdryer with me. That's always going to be taken care of in the hotel, with the hotel, by the hotel, in the hotel. You get it. But the curling iron, that's what I bring. So whatever your priority is, account for that. If your priority is bringing, I don't know, your Game Boy or shaving kit or 4 pairs of vegan stilettos, that's fine. You decide what to pack, and some things are going to be more important than others. For me, when it comes to the toiletries, I don't skimp on bringing my shampoo, bringing my conditioner, bringing my hair products, the styling products, and bringing my curling iron. I'm not leaving that up to chance, especially since once I travel out of California, my hair changes completely and it's frizzy, and because usually it's hot where we're going or it's humid and my hair is completely different. So I just want to try and mitigate that as much as possible and have all of my styling products with me. Now, when it comes to toiletries, in addition to my curling iron, when it comes to the toiletries, more and more hotels are moving to larger bottles, like affixed in the shower, rather than the small disposable shampoo and conditioner and stuff. I don't really want to take the chance still, because some hotels are still using those disposable. Now, I will say when you come on a Joyful Vegan trip, we actually work with the hotels to not have those disposables. So we work with them to, again, kind of implement as many zero waste principles as we can. But so I'm going to still, though, however, bring my favorite products, and I'm going to do that because then there's no waste created at all. You know me, I love my plain products. And if you want to get a discount on the plain products and you want to use my affiliate link, go to joyfulvegan.com. You can also go to the store. The store has my favorite products in one place, including all of my message wear, the Joyful Vegan message wear, totes, aprons, that kind of thing. But it has links to all of my affiliate programs, which is only like the plain products, the Nama Juicer, and complement supplements. So you can go to my new store by going to joyfulvegan.com, because until my new website is built, you still have to go to joyfulvegan.com and then click on cooking classes or click on whatever, and it'll go to the new store. Okay. And so you can get the link for the plain products there, and you can get the discount code, and you can get a discount. So the coupon code to get a discount. So I'm able to bring enough shampoo and conditioner in my 3.4 ounce bottles for a 3-week trip. So I do that. But I also travel with shampoo and conditioner bars, or a bar. David usually brings a shampoo bar, and I will bring a conditioner bar. He doesn't use conditioner. I use conditioner. And that takes up a little less space than even those 3.4 ounce travel size bottles, even from plain. So I just I vary that one. I go back and forth. I also take my hair products. These are also in travel size containers. And I take my face lotion and face wash. And I got the best advice once that I implemented for the first time on this trip to Italy is, contact lens cases. They're small, right? They're not large. They don't take up a lot of space. When it comes to like a face lotion, I don't need a lot. I just need like a little dollop, right? So someone suggested putting lotion in the 2 little contact lens case holders. Like, there's one for the left eye and one for the right eye. And it worked. I didn't need a lot. And it's lotion, so it's not like super liquidy, so it didn't leak or anything like that. I took the contact lens case with some face lotion, body lotion, whatever you want to take, and it worked like a charm. Love it. So I do have contact lens cases laying all around the house. I've been wearing contact lenses for 45 years, and I'm not kidding. I got them when I was 6 years old. And even if you don't wear them, you can find them for free on FreeCycle, buy nothing. You can go to an eye doctor's office. I loved that advice. I'm passing it on to you. And yet I still have another tip from the hip regarding that, if you're interested. So again, in terms of zero waste principles, I mentioned I wear contact lenses. I wear daily contact lenses, which means more packaging. I don't love that. And please don't write to me and say that I'm a horrible person because I should be wearing glasses instead, which is more zero waste. Sure, I could do that, but that's probably not going to happen. I have really poor vision. I have an astigmatism. I'm legally blind by DMV standards. I would never, legally blind means I could not operate a moving vehicle without corrective lenses. My vision is so poor and it keeps getting worse. So the lenses I wear now are dailies. And so one way I reconcile that is to send all of my empty contact lens cases to TerraCycle to ensure that they get properly recycled, because it's not guaranteed that if I put my little plastic empty, those little bubble packs into my recycling here in Oakland, that they're going to get recycled. But TerraCycle, they have a program. And the best thing about it is you can, with a lot of TerraCycle programs, you can buy a box. And so it costs money to do that. But also you have an example of this with the contact lens cases, or the contact lens bubble packs. The eye doctors, optometrists, opticians, they sign up to be a drop-off spot for these TerraCycle boxes. So what I do is I accumulate a huge box of the empty lens cases, and my husband also wears contact lenses, and then I drop them off at a local optometrist, and so they then bring the box, this massive box, to the post office, send it off to TerraCycle, and they get properly recycled. So all that's to say is, while I obviously bring 3 weeks worth of contact lenses when I travel, I come home with the same amount of packaging because I bring them back home with me. I don't just throw my contact lens cases out wherever I'm traveling because that's stupid, because I care enough that I'm doing this at home. I want to do it when I travel too. So I basically, and David does this too, he gives me all of his empties and I come back home with all of the empty contact lens cases, the bubble pack that I then put in that box and I bring over to a local optometrist. So the point is, I'm emphasizing this because my carry-on suitcase doesn't get lighter when I travel. It's actually more full because I also buy gifts, and that's what we're going to talk about as well. So that is number 5. Is that really only 5? 4? 5. Yeah, 5 was toiletries. So 6, I misnumbered them when I was writing this. 6 is where so it's related to, what is it? Maybe 4 is where your clunky shoes on the plane, and then pack the rest. So this is kind of related to that. I brought 4 pairs of shoes, I would do it again. And I'm very mindful about what I'm bringing in terms of my outfit, so I know what kinds of shoes to bring, and I would do it again. I loved having my Vans. They're just basically like little tennis sneakers. I loved having my flip-flops. I loved having my Rothy's for dressing up a little bit more. And I obviously had my hiking shoes, especially for the northern Italy trip where we hike a lot in the Dolomites and in the Alps, and it's amazing. And oh my God, it was the most incredible hike. So I would do that again. So again, wear those shoes on the plane. Another tip is when you are packing, use the inside of your shoes for things like small toiletry bottles, the contact lens cases I mentioned, glasses in their case, but any small things that could fit inside your shoes, that's empty space right there. So use that space inside your shoes. Number 7 is decide what to pack. Have a plan. Don't just, think, oh, okay, the night before you leave or 2 days before you leave, I'm going to pack this. We're going somewhere warm. I'll just pack some dresses. No. Have a plan. We're going to get to the actual packing of the things you're bringing. So that's culminating. We're getting there. That's the climax. But before you actually do the final packing, you need to know what you're bringing. And I really advise you to create a plan. Take a look at the weather for the time you're going to be gone. I know it's hard because you can only get 10 days out, but do your best. Start writing out exactly what you want to bring. I mentioned that I have made notes about what I want to do differently for next year or for the next trips coming up. And I'm not kidding. I use Google Docs. I have not just like a packing list on Google Docs. I actually have different packing lists based on where we go. Europe in the summer. I don't know, whatever. I don't call it that. It's called Italy, but it tends to be the same thing, right? So when we go to Rwanda, I'm going to have a different list than I would have when I travel to Italy to Tuscany. They're different. So I have different Google Docs. And because I have that written out for what I want to pack, that's easy for me to go back and modify it based on what I learned from the trip. So just create a plan for yourself. Know what the weather's going to be. Know what the activities are. Know what you want to wear at dinner time. If you want to wear something nicer at dinner time, something fancier, a jacket if you're a guy, and a dress if you're a gal. So write it out and plan for that. And then the day before we leave, I start taking out all of the clothes that I've already decided I'm going to bring. And I think about what's going to go with what, and I might make a different decision based on, I'm thinking, for instance, last year when we went to Tuscany, I brought a skirt that's a shorter skirt. It's not like I wear a lot of maxi, like long skirts, right? But this was like at my shin. And I love this skirt, but it's more conducive to wearing heels with it. It's just, it looks better. It just looks better if I have heels rather than flats. So I brought that skirt with me, and I brought a pair of shoes for that skirt. I wore it once. Waste of space. So I will never do that again. So this is where I actually start to go, okay, I'm going to bring this pair of shoes. Does this dress go with that? Does that dress go with it? Does that skirt go with those shoes? No, then I'm not going to bring that skirt. So that's where you start to just get ruthless about what you're going to bring. And you start culling and say things like, do I really need 3 pairs of jeans? No. See what I did there? I didn't do that when I was packing this time. I didn't stop myself from packing 3 pairs of jeans, and that was silly. And I will never make that mistake again. So have everything out that you want to bring. Start culling, making decisions as you're seeing what it looks like. It's all out on the bed or what have you. You might have planned to bring 8 pairs of shirts, but then you look at what you have and you're like, 6 is fine, right? So be ruthless and cull at that point. And the other advantage of writing this out and having a plan is that you have a checklist. Because look, there's always things, you're stressing, you're traveling, you have to make sure you have your passport, your ID, whatever it is, check in for your flight. And so you're going to forget things. And so the idea of having all this written out means that you have a checklist, and then use the checklist, because there have been times I had my checklist, but I didn't consult it before I was walking out the door. So have a plan, and prepare. And now to the biggest secret of all, how to actually pack all of that in your carry-on soft case bag and your personal bag, how to actually pack it so that you can maximize the space. That is where we're going next. But first, I want to thank you for your support. So as I mentioned, this podcast is listener supported. It has been for really as long as I've been doing this podcast. It started out as a listener supported podcast, and there were times where I had different sponsors here and there, but it's just not where I want to spend my time. I mean, the truth is, there's been a monumental shift in how people on the internet, including podcasters, get paid for their content. It's shifted to company sponsorships and promotions and this whole influencer thing. And I have just chosen not to do that. I know that maybe you think I should, but it's just not what resonates for me. What resonates for me is the support that is so beautiful and legit from you, because you're saying I really value you, and I'm not sitting here selling you things that I have to sell because I have a relationship with a company. Any sponsorship you would have heard in the past was absolutely genuine. There was nothing I sold that I didn't believe in, but I just couldn't keep doing that, and that's just not where I want to spend my time and my bandwidth. So I have visions of what the future could look like in terms of membership program. We used to have a membership through the Compassionate Cooks Club. That was kind of the original iteration of this. And now we're on Patreon, but it also has lots of opportunities for that. So I do envision kind of shifting a little bit, but it's still going to be through you. And I don't have the ability to do that right now, but we do have Patreon, and every single dollar of your support goes back to this work. It goes right to this work that you value. And so if you listen to this podcast, if you follow my work at all, just know the number of hours that go into creating this content, creating the content on Instagram, which is, one of the platforms I use. I just did a reel, and it's gone viral. There's 50,000 views on it, which is so incredible, and people are sharing it, and I love it. It took me a lot of time to do that, but it was worth it because of the people who were sharing it. But that's the stuff that you are supporting. It's value for value, right? So that's what this is. So if you are able to support my work through Patreon, $10 a month, $20 a month, $30 a month. There's so many different perks at different levels. Let me know if there's other ones that you think would be valuable for you. You get discounts on my cooking classes. You get discounts. You get special content. You get special, I'm going to make this video I mentioned, I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So, I'm giving back in that way as well, but mostly I know you're supporting this work because I'm giving through this content. So every amount counts. If you have been supporting and you haven't checked your account in a while, would you please consider doing so? There's just declines all the time. And I just don't right now have the support to go and actually look at all of those declines and then write to you and ask you to check your credit card. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. And the other thing is, if you can support at the annual level, it's really helpful because it just gives the support right up front, as opposed to you doing something like, so for instance, if you decide to do the $10 a month, you get a discount when you do it annually. So you pay whatever it is, let's say $90 for the year. And that way, that $10 a month, there's no risk of that credit card declining. Maybe you changed your card, maybe you closed that card, maybe you lost it, maybe it was stolen. And so then you forget to go to Patreon and change your account. Well, that pledge you made, I don't get what you actually pledged. But if you do it up front as an annual pledge, then there's no risk of that. So anyway, that's why your support matters so much. And I just want to thank some of my longtime high-level supporters. You've heard these names before. They are still supporting me. I'm tearing up because I'm so grateful to all of you. I'm grateful to all of you at every level. And thank you to all of these longtime high-level supporters. David Cabrera and Alexander Gray are still supporting my work. Renee Marinkovich, thank you, Renee. Valentina Zenkel, Brooke Boussard, Michal Stone, and Sylvie Raquel. You have just been loyal supporters, and I'm so grateful. I could not do this without all of you. So thank you so much. And, I'm still grateful to hear from so many of you. We used to do the love letters episodes, and I haven't done them in a long time, but let me just read a couple quick emails to you. They're short. So this is from Suzanne, who said, I've been a listener of your outstanding podcast for the past few years, and I just want to thank you for providing engaging, insightful, and compassionate podcasts on a variety of topics. As a vegan for the past 10 years, I've learned so much from you. I've listened to other vegan podcasts, and Food for Thought is truly in a class by itself. I have also enjoyed trying many of the delicious recipes from your wonderful, well-organized cookbooks. Thank you for all you do. Thank you, Suzanne. That means so much. And from Brooke, who I just named, Brooke Boussard, who has written several beautiful emails to me. Brooke, thank you so much. They mean so much to me. Your emails mean so much to me. They still do. They always will. And she wrote, hi, Colleen, excerpting from an email she wrote. Your words and your voice changed my life a dozen years ago, and I will always be grateful to you for everything you do. Your approach to life, teaching, and advocacy is so admirable. I enjoy listening to your podcast, and I use all of your cookbooks, which are proudly displayed in my kitchen. One day I hope to go on one or more of the vegan trips. Thanks for all you do, Joyful Vegan. Thank you, Brooke. And then finally, a lovely email I got saying, hi, I just wanted you to know that roughly 10 years ago, I went to a seminar of yours at the University of Minnesota when I was in college. I bought your book and I think I had it signed. I still remember that I asked you if you thought digestion improved when you went vegan, and you said, of course. And I went home and went vegan for 30 days. And then I stopped and forgot all about it for many years as I was concerned my diet was too carb heavy. And that was back when I was still afraid of carbs. 4 years ago, I came back and focused on plant-based eating and eventually fell back into a true vegan lifestyle. I've had ups and downs and at times off and on, but I'm back fully on again. And I want to say thank you. Thank you for opening my eyes all those years ago. I haven't been perfect, but it's a journey. Any effort is better than none. And what I love about these emails is I'm so proud of the longevity that we have had. All of these letters reflect that they have been part of my work for 10 years, 12 years. I mean, it's just incredible to me. And as long as I can keep doing this, I will. And I can do it with your support. So please head over to patreon.com/Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. And now to the secret to packing everything you want and everything you need into a carry-on and never check a bag again is a scientifically proven method. Not that I care about that. It's an anecdotally proven method as well, but it is a scientifically proven method. Rolling your clothes. Rolling your clothes saves space and prevents wrinkles. So roll everything. Do not fold. Roll. You will use so much space in your carry-on bag. But more than just rolling, I want to talk about packing cubes. They're amazing and they work. Once you start compartmentalizing your things into neat little compartments, these little packing cubes, you realize how much more you can fit in. And you also learn that you still roll. So even if you're using packing cubes, you still roll. Now, reach out to some neighbors, reach out to some family members and friends or buy nothing, etc., and ask people if they have some packing cubes you can borrow. Just borrow them. You don't have to buy them. But try it. And this is what I'm going to do for my Patreon supporters. I'll choose it at a particular level. I think $10 and above will get the video that I'm going to make on how to pack using packing cubes. You're going to see how amazing it is, and you're going to see how much you can fit into these cubes. So stay tuned if you're a supporter. If you're not a supporter, get on that. And what's really nice about rolling and the cubes is that it makes it so much easier to find what you need when you're living out of your suitcase on a trip. Right? So one cube is just for shirts. One cube is for your undergarments. One cube is for dresses. One cube is for pants, right? It forces you to stay organized when you're on the road. So even if you don't use the packing cubes, that's fine, but roll everything, and roll them tight, get them tight, roll them in there. Bulky things, sweaters, roll them tight. So I'm going to show you the best way to roll, and I'm going to show you the best way to roll. I'll show you with cubes and without cubes, but I'm really going to focus on the cubes. So that is the big secret. And I think that was number 8. And then number 9 is coming back home with more than what you arrived with, right? So I'm doing that one last or almost last because now you know what to do to pack and what to bring and how to pack when you're going. But what about you're there and now you want to come back home, but you've bought things. You bought souvenirs, you bought clothes, you bought gifts for people. So number one, I want to say this because it just has to be said. One of the reasons we travel is to have the experience of different cultures, different people, different food. Just have the experience. And that's worth more than anything you will buy, period. It just is. It just is. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't buy things. But I don't want to just buy things. I think when I was younger, I bought tchotchkes and souvenirs, right? Because I want to come back with something. But if it's not going to be valuable, if it's not going to be something that my friends could use, or because again, use is value, value is use, right? If it's just going to be cheap and I'm only bringing it because like I want to get something for them, that's not to me, for me, a sustainable kind of model for living. I want it to be valuable. I want it to be special. So I know you already implement that. I'm just putting that out there that you don't necessarily have to buy things for, to gift your friends. There's lots of other ways you can do that. It could be photos that you take, could be, bringing them on the trip with you next time. Obviously, that's a great gift. But there are other ways to gift friends. Now, if you do want to buy things, I tend to buy things that are smaller, like jewelry or dried food items, right? Things that I can easily pack. That's just me because I'm not checking bags. And so for instance, we came home with gifts. I bought a scarf for a very good friend who came and kind of did some supplemental cat sitting while our cat sitter was out of the house. She came and worked here and I wanted to bring her a gift. So I bought her a scarf. We bought salt from Volterra, which is my favorite town in Tuscany. We bought dried spices from Tuscan region. I bought and brought home risotto from northern Italy, porcini mushrooms from Umbria, saffron from Umbria. So I brought things and put them in our carry-on, and I still was able to have room. So the point is, it's not that you can't purchase things and clothes for yourself or gifts or souvenirs for friends when you get home, but plan for that. So if you know you want to do that and that's important to you, then plan for it in terms of the amount of space you keep open in your bag so that you can account for it, so that you can have room for it when you're on your trip. Okay. So that's that. I also bought a pair of earrings for myself. I usually like buying a pair, some kind of special jewelry, which, I've talked about special jewelry in the past. And very, very sadly, I'm very sad to say that I came home with one less piece of jewelry because I lost my special ring that I bought in Ireland 15 years ago that I have now lost. This is the third time I've lost it over 15 years. I don't know how. I can tell you, like, in the last 2 times I lost it was in the house. So I don't know. I just don't know. It's gone. Like that. The first one I lost was like in our old house. We've moved. It's been 10 years. I'm never going to find that ring. Then I lost the ring again, actually a few months ago in this house. And I've looked everywhere and I can't find it. And so I got another one, again, replacement from this little jewelry shop in Western Ireland, in Connemara, in a little town called Clifton. And I brought it with me on my trip. I have pictures of me with my ring from the beginning of the trip. And then we were in a town called Maltesine, and it was hot, and it was sweating because it was a heat wave. And I went into the bathroom, and on the counter, I put my ring on the counter because I wanted to put my hair up in a ponytail. And so I needed to kind of use the elastic around my fingers, and the ring was getting in the way. So I put the ring down on the counter and I forgot to pick it back up again. So about a half hour later, one of our travelers came and showed me some beautiful jewelry she bought at a local shop. And I said, "Oh, I love that so much. I love buying special jewelry like this ring." And I went, "Oh my God." And I ran downstairs to the bathroom and it was gone. And I looked everywhere and I asked the barkeeper if she was gone. So it's gone. So I think I just have to let go of this ring because I clearly can't hold on to it. I mean, I lost it 3 times in 15 years and then lose it like within, 3 months of each other. But still, but it's very sad. So I did buy a pair of earrings that I think are really pretty, but I don't have my ring and I feel naked. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do about that. But when it comes to bringing things home, Keep them small, keep them local, make them special. I really love the idea of bringing foodstuffs home from the regions we're traveling in. And I want to say something about another foodstuff, which is wine. And so on their Tuscany trip specifically, we go to a winery and everyone wants to get wine from the winery, and they're like a machine. They ship everywhere. So when you're buying the wine and olive oil, they have olive oil as well. They will basically ship for you. And so that's what we did. And it actually just arrived yesterday. And we were lucky enough, in this case, one of our friends and neighbors traveled with us on their Tuscany trip. And so we split the shipping. So it was really affordable, but I find it pretty affordable. And again, if you're not checking bags, you have a little more flexibility in terms of having something shipped. So that's the case where we actually worked with the winery to get the wine shipped, but truly, again, work with a concierge at your hotel. If you've bought things and now you can't fit them in your carry-on, but you don't want to check bags on your way home, work with the hotel and they can ship something for you. It's what you're willing to pay, right? Or you can go to the post office and get a box and pack everything into the box and ship it back to your house. And you can still avoid checking bags, right? It's worth doing, right? I mean, it might sound crazy to like ship stuff back to your home, but I don't know that that's any crazier than like unnecessarily lugging around 50 pounds of clothes around the world, right? So it's all in service of keeping things simple, keeping things sustainable, making it easy for yourself, making it less stressful, making it more affordable, and then deciding where you want to spend the money. If you want to spend the money on checking your luggage, do it. If you want to spend the money on shipping something back home to you, do it. But for me, it's all about making the experience as enjoyable as possible. Now, I mentioned that we're going to get David on Brighty's World Vegan Travel podcast and talk about travel hacking in the sense of credit cards, because it is so worth doing. And I really, really want to share it with you because it's complicated. It's complicated. You can go to a website like, what is it called? The Points guy. He's probably one of the most popular bloggers on this topic, and you can find out which credit cards to start with. And especially if you're considering on coming on a joyful vegan trip next year, or if you're coming on Rwanda or Botswana, there's still time to get some credit card points and get them so you can start redeeming them for your travel. So plan ahead now. And, don't wait for the podcast episode because we got to get David on there, but start looking into that because it's worth it. So that's another travel tip I wanted to give you right from the hip. But even if you don't do the travel hacking with credit card points, I will tell you this. In terms of sustainability, when I say sustainability, I mean more of like emotional sustainability, but making the travel as stress-free as possible. Get yourself global entry if you travel internationally, and get yourself TSA pre. Do not argue with me. It's $85 for 5 years for TSA pre. That means you go through the TSA pre line. You don't have to take your shoes off. The lines are always shorter. The lines are always faster, and it's worth it. Like, it's $85 for 5 years. That's like $20 a year. Okay. And then global entry, so that you don't have to stand in line for customs and for the passport entry. It's mostly for the passport. You don't have to do that with global entry. Also, $100 for 5 years. So it's worth doing this so you can just cut right through those lines and just get out of that airport. And because you're doing this and you're not checking your bags, once you get through the passport check with global entry, I mean, it takes us 5 minutes to get out of the airport when we arrive home. You're not standing around waiting for your luggage. You're getting right through with global entry. Just do it. It's absolutely worth it. And the other thing I would say is take a look at lounges in the airports when you're traveling. Lounge access comes with business class, so that's usually just built in. But you might have a credit card like the American Express Platinum. If you have an American Express Platinum, many lounges let you in, give you access. If you have there's a variety of things. I'm not going to get into it here, but lots of lounges will also just charge a nominal fee if you don't have access through a credit card or through business class. And just think about it might being worth that. Maybe you have a layover for 4 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours, and you don't want to just sit in the main terminal. So take a look at lounge access in the terminal that you're in, and it might be $25 for a day pass, and just decide if it's worth it. But these are the kinds of things that we implement because it just makes it less stressful and enjoyable. So what do you think? What do you think? Whether you're traveling on your own or with your family or for business or domestically or internationally or on a joyful vegan trip, you can do this. I'm proof positive. I am proof of this. Ask any of our travelers in Italy. We along with only like one other person, like didn't check bags, right? But it's worth it. And we did it and we had everything we needed and we came home with more things to give to friends. And I just think it's worth talking about, which is why I devoted this entire episode to talking about it. We're running both of these trips again in June of 2023. They're already filling up, so do not delay. I'm not just saying that. Especially if you're traveling as a solo, the single spots fill up faster than you can say San Gimignano. So go to joyfulvegantrips.com and book your spot or book a spot on each of the trips. The Italy trips are back to back. They're both in June again. And some of our travelers actually traveled on both with us. And one of the perks of traveling on both the Tuscany trip first and then the Northern Italy trip right afterwards is that we actually gift you the train ride from the end of our Tuscany trip, which is in Venice, over to Milan, and then the night, the hotel there, because there's only a day in between. We have like a day and a half, but like one night in between. And so we gift you with that hotel for that night in between. So we had travelers do both. And it's really fun because they're completely different trips. And I do not exaggerate when I say that magical connections take place among our travelers. I'm not exaggerating. I'm like welling up with tears thinking about the magical connections we witnessed in Tuscany and in Northern Italy. That alone is reason to come on these trips. If you ever feel like you're not surrounded by like-minded people, they are on these trips. The most incredible people. I think it says so much about our followers. It says so much about you and your integrity. And I'm so proud of that. And we connect with our travelers beforehand. We have a WhatsApp channel. We have a Facebook page. We're mostly moving off of that because we're just doing WhatsApp mostly. We have a Zoom meet and greet so that everybody can meet each other. And so, so people have like kind of seen each other a little bit, but mostly people don't know each other. There are repeat travelers on all of our trips. So that's what's lovely too. There's reunions of people who traveled before on other trips. And now we've done we've done a lot. So like people have met each other on several trips. Some people meet up on the trips having decided to travel together and room together. So it's beautiful. But for the most part, the majority of travelers don't know each other when they arrive at our starting point. But within a couple days, we watch these lifelong friendships form. It's so beautiful. I'm like emotional about it because it's why we do this. It's why I do this, is to show the abundance and connection and compassion and camaraderie that takes place when you're living your truth and you're living your values. We do everything we can to create a comfortable, compassionate space. And the rest happens very organically because of the caliber of people. And I'm so honored to watch it. So take a look at the trips. I will tell you that the Tuscany trip and the Northern Italy trip are very different. They're very different. Like when you think of Italy, I think you think of like Tuscany. I think that's what most people think of when they think of Italy, like rolling hills dotted with cypresses, cobblestone streets with 14th century cathedrals and towers and olive groves and vineyards as far as the eye can see, like, under the Tuscan sun. That's basically what it is. And the food at our villa is beyond phenomenal. It's still the best food ever. I said that after our October trip, and I'm sticking with it. It is just phenomenal. It's the most local, regional, organic, colorful, beautiful, delicious food you will ever eat. But really everywhere in Tuscany, it's just phenomenal. And all of the vendors we work with and the restaurants we work with, because we're in Tuscany. It's Tuscan food we're eating that's vegan by default because so much produce is grown there in this region. So it's just phenomenal. And it's not just the food, it's the whole experience. My favorite day, I mean, we talk about the long lunches. I talked about it in the cuisines episodes. Long lunches that go on for hours because that's how Italians value their time and connection with one another and friends and family. These long lunches, and we've done that in southern Italy. And here in Tuscany, I think my favorite day was the day we had this very long lunch at the most gorgeous animal sanctuary. It was like a quintessential 3-hour-long Italian lunch with incredible food, incredible wine, and incredible friends. So that's the Tuscan trip. The Northern Italy trip is totally different and just as wonderful. We start in Milan, but we don't spend any time there. Just like we don't spend time in Florence, even though we start in Florence. You can come a few days early on the Tuscan trip. You can come a few days early and spend some time in Florence. And same thing with the Northern Italy one. You can come a few days early and spend some time in Milan. But we just meet there and then we head over to all of our accommodations and destinations. So after Milan, we head right up to Lake Garda, which is not far from Lake Como, but Lake Garda is so beautiful. And we stay in an incredible 5-star old world villa for a couple nights, and we enjoy time at the lake and on the lake. The Northern Italy trip is called Mountains, Lakes, and Canals. Like, we are in the mountains, we are on the lakes, we are on the canals. Like, it's stunning. Then we head farther north to the region called Trentino Alto Adige, and that borders Switzerland and Austria. So it actually was part of Austria at one point. So it's very German speaking. You hear more German than Italian, but it's a place that most Americans don't really go. It's known for medieval castles and beautiful outdoor landscapes and activities, and the region encompasses part of the Dolomites, which is a section of the Italian Alps, and that's where we wind up and have the most incredible hike. Just take a look at my photos and videos if you want to see that. And then from there, we head to Venice, where we cap off our trip on the canals of this phenomenal city. We stay on the Grand Canal. We enjoy gondola rides and surprises that I do not want to reveal because we like surprising our travelers. So I can't say enough about how phenomenal these trips are. And it's all thanks to our dear friends and partners at World Vegan Travel, Brady and Seb. Anyone who's been on these trips, they know how hard they work. They take care of every logistic and then some so that you can just relax and enjoy and not worry about a thing. I've hosted trips with other travel companies that were not the caliber of these trips. Not the right fit for me at all. Not the right fit for you. They will remain nameless, but I know of when I speak when I say that these trips are phenomenal. I'm so grateful to host them, and I hope to see you on one of them. So head over to joyfulvegantrips.com. I hope this helped. I hope this convinced you to at least give it a try. Drop me a line and let me know. Please leave ratings and reviews of the podcast. Please become a supporter and share this with others if you find it helpful. For the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. Thanks for listening.